I thought leaving $20 on the nightstand was a polite way to say sorry for running away. I didn't realize I had just insulted the Alpha King by tipping him for a one-night stand. But the real problem wasn't the money. It was the fact that due to a clinic mix-up, I was already pregnant with his heir. Chapter 1. Pregnant. The word didn't just land, it struck. Chloe gripped the counter. Cold stone bit into her palms. The clinic waiting room, pristine white, smelling of bleach and old money, felt suddenly unstable. Not a dizzy spell, a crash, the kind that leaves metal twisted and glass shattered on the asphalt. She was a surrogate. The uterus was a rental. The nausea was part of the deal. But the receptionist wasn't smiling. The woman's skin was the color of curdled milk, reeking of terror. A sharp, sour spike of sweat cut through the sterile air. "I'm sorry, Ms. Vane." The whisper scraped against the silence. "There has been complications. A mix-up." Chloe laughed, a wet, ugly sound. "A mix-up?" She leaned in. Her thrift store leather jacket creaked. "I don't care about logistics. I care about my check. My rent is due in 48 hours. Hand me the envelope." The receptionist swallowed. Her throat clicked. "We can't pay you. The contract is void." Void. Blood drained from Chloe's face. 3 months of hormone injections. 3 months of needles bruising her hips. Double shifts dropped. Savings drained. The sample used wasn't the client's. The woman rushed out, eyes darting to the security camera. It was restricted. "Whose?" Chloe's voice remained low. "Whose baby is inside me?" The receptionist leaned over the marble. Her perfume, synthetic roses, choked the air. "It was an accident, the sample. It belonged to the Thorne family, the royal batch." Thorne. Ice flooded Chloe's veins. The name wasn't just famous. It was a predator's growl. They owned the skyline. They owned the cops. Rumors followed them like shadows. Violence, secrecy, otherness. "So," Chloe said, the word vibrating in her chest, "I am broke, hormonal, and carrying the spawn of a rich psycho who doesn't know I exist?" Quiet. "If Mr. Thorne finds out, I don't care what he finds out." Fury replaced the fear. It burned hot, acidic bile rising in. Her throat. She'd followed every rule. She'd played the good little incubator. For what? Eviction? She snatched her purse. The strap dug into her shoulder. "Where is he?" "Who?" "Gabriel Thorne. If you won't pay me, he will." "Ms. Vane, you can't—" Chloe spun on her heel. She shoved through the heavy glass doors. The city greeted her with a slap of gray wind. Exhaust fumes. Grit. It looked like a beast with its jaw unhinged, ready to swallow her whole. Pain lanced through her gut. Not a cramp. Fire. She stumbled, clutching a lamppost. It was too early for the baby to move, but something rippled beneath her skin. A strange, heavy heat. Her grandmother used to whisper about their bloodline, about old magic. Chloe had called it fairy tales. Now her veins felt like they were carrying liquid magma. She straightened. The pain receded, leaving a dull throb. She had a name. She had a target. Gabriel Thorne was going to pay.
Get them out. The command didn't come from Gabriel. It came from the beast. The wolf paced the cage of his mind, claws scraping against his skull. It hated them. The 3 women in the hallway, they smelled of desperation and expensive silk. Candidates. Breeding stock. "Alpha, please." Lucas, his beta, stood in the doorway. He smelled of burnt toast and copper anxiety. "The council is pressuring us. You need an heir." Gabriel growled. The sound rumbled deep in his chest, vibrating the mahogany desk. "I tried. The clinic. The vial." "About that." Gabriel froze. The temperature in the room plummeted. He didn't turn. He stared out the window at the obsidian estate. Dark stone, iron gates, a kingdom, a cage. "Speak." "The sample is gone," Lucas said. "A clerical error. A human surrogate was inseminated." Gabriel turned. "A human." The wolf stopped pacing. It lifted its massive head, ears swiveling. "She will die," Gabriel said. "Fact, not emotion. My blood is too strong. The pup will destroy her from the inside." "We need to find her," Lucas said, looking at his shoes. "Find her." Gabriel's voice was soft, deadly. "Now." Lucas scrambled out. The door clicked shut. Gabriel turned back to the window. He should be breaking furniture. He should be shifting, tearing the room to shreds. But the window was cracked. A breeze drifted in. It carried the city's stench. Gasoline, garbage, rain, and something else. Vanilla, warm amber. Mine. The wolf slammed against his ribcage. It howled, a sound that echoed only in Gabriel's blood. The scent hooked him, a physical tug in his gut. He gripped the stone windowsill. Stone crumbled to dust under his fingers. It wasn't just a scent. It was a tether. Gabriel grabbed his coat. He didn't need security. He didn't need a driver. He needed to hunt. For the first time in a decade, the world didn't smell like lies. It smelled like her.
The bar reeked of stale beer and regret. Chloe huddled in a cracked vinyl booth. Her bank account was empty. The $20 she'd slid to the bouncer had bought her a seat in the darkest corner of the Rusty Nail. Why a billionaire would frequent a dive where the floor adhered to your shoes, she couldn't fathom. She stared at the door. Her skin felt too tight. That heat in her belly hadn't faded. It simmered. The door opened. The noise in the room died. Silence rippled outward from the entrance. Conversations halted. The air grew heavy. He walked in, Gabriel Thorne. He was taller than the photos, broader. He wore a charcoal coat that cost more than this building. But it wasn't the clothes. It was the movement, fluid, precise, a panther stalking through a petting zoo. Patrons shrank back. Instinct. Him. The word wasn't a thought, it was a pulse. Chloe stood. Her legs felt weak. She had a speech. She had demands. She grabbed her purse and forced herself forward. "Hey!" The music thumped, bass rattling the glasses. He stopped. He turned. Ice blue. His eyes locked onto hers. Chloe's breath hitched. He wasn't looking at her. He was dissecting her, peeling back skin and bone to see the marrow. He stalked toward her. He didn't blink. Chloe's heart hammered against her ribs. "Run!" her brain screamed. "Stay!" her blood whispered. He stopped inches from her. "You!" he rumbled. His voice was a physical caress, deep, resonant. "You owe me," Chloe stammered. Her defiance withered under the gaze. He tilted his head. He inhaled, nostrils flaring. "Do I?" He stepped closer. He smelled of winter pine and ozone. The scent intoxicated her. It drugged her senses. "Yes." She tried to square her shoulders. "You made a mistake." A corner of his mouth twitched. Everyone makes mistakes. He reached out. His fingertips grazed her bare arm. Snap. Blue electricity arced between them. Visible, audibly cracking. Chloe gasped, jerking back. Her skin tingled where he'd touched her. Not pain, awakening. Gabriel looked at his hand, then at her. His eyes darkened. The pupils blew wide, swallowing the blue. He looked hungry. "What was that?" she whispered. "I don't know." He murmured. He leaned down. His lips brushed her ear. "But I intend to find out." The wolf in his eyes wasn't hidden anymore. It was staring right at her. "Let's go." It wasn't a request. It was an edict. And God help her. Chloe nodded. The fight drained out of her, replaced by a terrifying magnetic pull. The money didn't matter. The rent didn't matter. She needed to be near him. She followed him out into the night, walking blindly into the dark with the wolf, unaware she was the lamb.
Gabriel woke to cold. He reached across the mattress. Sheets, high thread count cotton, empty. His eyes snapped open. The wolf roared in his head, a sound of pure, possessive fury. Gone. He sat up, his heart hammered against his sternum. The luxury suite was silent. He scanned the room. No clothes, no shoes, no trace of the woman who tasted like salvation. Except the scent. It saturated the air. Rain, vanilla, amber. It clung to the pillows. It taunted the beast pacing the cage of his mind. Find her. Claim her. Gabriel swung his legs out of bed. Then he saw it. On the mahogany nightstand, weighed down by a crystal tumbler, a crumpled ball of green, he uncrumpled it. A $20 bill. Gabriel stared. His brain refused to process the image. He was the Alpha King. His net worth required 12 digits to calculate. And she had left him a tip. A growl started in his belly, low, vibrating. It climbed his throat until it filled the room. She thought he was a service. A one-night stand. He lifted the bill to his nose. He inhaled, seeking the insult, seeking the rage. The scent hit him hard. Under the vanilla, under the rain, iron, salt, ancient power, the royal batch. The growl died. His grip tightened on the paper until his knuckles turned white. It wasn't a stranger. It was the surrogate. The vessel carrying his bloodline. A laugh bubbled up, dark, jagged. She didn't know. She thought she could pay him off with lunch money and disappear into the sunrise. You have my heir, he whispered to the empty room. And you think you can run? The wolf stopped pacing. It started hunting. Gabriel walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. The city sprawled below, gray and oblivious. His reflection in the glass flickered. His pupils weren't round anymore. They were slits. You think this is over? He shoved the crumpled bill into his pocket. Oh no, little mouse, I'm keeping the change.
Panic tasted bitter. Chloe shoved a pair of jeans into her duffel bag. She didn't fold them. She balled them up, jamming them down past her socks. Leave. Now. She had slept with him, the donor, the king of the city. The floor felt unsteady. Gravity seemed to shift, pulling her sideways. She gripped the dresser. The wood dug into her palms. A wave of heat rolled through her gut. Not nausea, not sickness, reconstruction. It felt like her insides were being knitted together by hot needles. She stumbled to the bathroom. Cold water. She needed cold water. She splashed her face, gasping as the droplets hit her skin. She looked up. The face in the mirror was hers, pale, terrified. Then she blinked. Gold. For a heartbeat, her irises weren't brown. They were molten gold, bioluminescent, alien. Chloe recoiled, her back hitting the tile wall. She squeezed her eyes shut. 1, 2, 3. She opened them. Brown, just brown. I'm losing it, she hissed. Stress, hormones. She grabbed her bag. The bus station. She just needed a ticket to anywhere that wasn't here. She reached for the doorknob. Knock. One soft rap against the wood. Chloe froze. Her blood ran cold. Who is it? Her voice was a broken violin string. Silence. No answer. No footsteps shifting in the hallway. Just a heavy, predatory stillness. Dread crawled up her spine, icy and slow. She unlocked the deadbolt. Click. The sound was a gunshot in the quiet apartment. She cracked the door. She looked down. The scream died in her throat. A wolf. Massive. Shoulders broad as a linebacker. Fur the color of a starless void. It sat on her welcome mat, utterly still. Its eyes were ice blue. Intelligent. Judging. Chloe's fingers went numb. The duffel bag hit the floor. Thud. She couldn't breathe. The air in the hallway felt charged, electric. She knew those eyes.
She smelled incredible when she was terrified. Gabriel sat on the coarse mat. Acrid fear rolled off her in waves, mixing with the sweet scent of baby powder and vanilla. Mine. The beast wanted to lunge, to pin her, to rub its scent into her skin until she smelled like nothing but thorn. He stood, even on 4 paws, His head reached her chest. She tried to slam the door. Cute. Gabriel shoved his snout into the gap. Wood splintered. He forced his way into the cramped apartment. It smelled of stale coffee and poverty. He looked at her. He huffed, a sharp exhale through his nose. Shift. The pain was immediate. Familiar. Bones snapped. Muscles tore and reknit in seconds. Fur retreated into skin. The world blurred into a kaleidoscope of agony. Then, stillness. He stood on two legs. His beta, Lucas, stepped from the shadows of the hall, draping a long trench coat over Gabriel's shoulders before the air even settled. Gabriel pulled the lapels tight. He filled the tiny entryway, dominating the room. Chloe pressed her spine against the wall. Her chest heaved. You, her voice trembled. You're a dog. Wolf. Gabriel's voice was a ruin, rough and deep. He took a step. Don't come near me. She snatched a ceramic lamp. She wielded it like a club. Gabriel didn't pause. He walked into her personal space. He took the lamp from her shaking fingers and set it gently on the table. Pack your things, he ordered. He spotted the bag on the floor. Good, you're ready. I'm not going anywhere with you, Chloe shouted. You're a monster. I am. He trapped her, hands on the wall on either side of her head. He leaned down. He saw the fire behind the fear. She wasn't fainting. She was bracing for a fight. The wolf purred in approval. She is strong. Gabriel smirked. He reached into his pocket. He produced the crumpled $20 bill. He held it up, inches from her nose. Her eyes widened. You left this, he whispered. I wanted to pay you, she squeaked. Gabriel leaned closer. His lips grazed the shell of her ear. The heat radiating from her was intoxicating. You overpaid, he murmured. He pulled back. The amusement vanished from his face, replaced by stone authority. Now, move. My heir requires better accommodations than this shoebox. He grabbed her bag. He threw the door wide open. He didn't check to see if she was following. He didn't have to. She carried his legacy, and Gabriel Thorne never lost what belonged to him.
Silence filled the cabin. Not peace, pressure. Chloe sank into the black leather of the SUV. The seat felt too soft, like a mouth closing around her. The air conditioner hummed, a low drone that made her ears ring. Beside her, Gabriel was a statue. He stared out the tinted glass. He hadn't spoken a syllable. City lights dissolved into darkness. The road twisted. Ancient pines crowded the asphalt, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. We have arrived! The driver's voice cracked the stillness. Chloe looked up. The obsidian estate wasn't a home. It was a fortress. Black stone rose against the night sky, jagged and imposing. Glass walls reflected the moon. It looked like a prison designed for giants. This is excessive, Chloe whispered. Gabriel opened his door. Cold mountain air rushed in. Come. It wasn't an invitation. Chloe grabbed her duffel. The canvas felt rough against her sweating palms. She stepped onto the gravel. The air here tasted different. Thin, sharp. It smelled of pine resin and something metallic. Blood? No, iron. The front doors groaned open, untouched by human hands. They entered. Shadows swallowed the ceiling. The foyer was a cavern of marble and echo. Footsteps approached. Click, click, click. A man emerged from the gloom. White hair pulled back until it pulled his skin tight. A suit the color of a thunderhead. Marcus, the head elder. Chloe didn't know his name, but her lizard brain screamed danger. She took a half step toward Gabriel. Instinct, seeking the bigger monster to hide from the smaller one. Alpha! Marcus's voice was dry leaves skittering on pavement. You brought a stray. Not a stray. Gabriel rumbled. The sound vibrated through the soles of Chloe's sneakers. The mother. Marcus's gaze snapped to her, not her face, her midsection. His eyes were milky, cold, and starving. A human, he sneered, upper lip curling to reveal yellowed teeth. The blood is diluted. She stays. Gabriel's command, slammed into the room. Marcus bowed, stiff, resentful. As you command, but the council will riot. A human in the sacred halls? It invites chaos. He turned. He marched away into the shadows. Chloe shivered. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Who is the crypt keeper? She hissed. Someone you avoid, Gabriel said. He led her up a staircase wide enough for a tank. Corridors stretched endlessly, lined with portraits of men who looked like they ate nails for breakfast. Wolves sat at their feet, painted with terrifying realism. Gabriel stopped. A heavy oak door. The nursery wing. He pushed it open. Chloe braced for opulence. Gold filigree, silk drapery, dust. It coated everything, gray and thick. A rocking horse with chipped paint sat in the corner. A mobile of faded stars hung motionless in the stagnant air. It wasn't a room. It was a mausoleum for a future that died years ago. He's been waiting. Chloe looked at Gabriel. He gripped the doorframe until the wood groaned. He wasn't looking at the dust. He was staring at the empty crib with a hunger that broke her heart. Why? She asked. The word was barely a breath. Why is it all ancient? Because, he murmured, voice rough with old wounds. I've been trying to fill this room for a decade. The monster faded. The billionaire vanished. In the gloom, Chloe saw only a man. A lonely, desperate man. And she was the one holding the match to light his dark.
The headache began as a spike behind his left eye. Thump, thump. Gabriel gripped the arms of his leather chair. Across the desk, Chloe looked tiny. She clutched a ceramic mug, steam curling around her pale face. He needed the truth. Was she a plant? A spy from the Northern Pack sent to dilute his bloodline? The clinic, Gabriel demanded. Start talking. I told you, Chloe said. She took a sip. I signed up. I was a waitress. I broke my ankle. Medical bills piled up. I was drowning. Gabriel leaned forward. He flared his nostrils, inhaling sharply. Scent intent. He reached out with his senses, peeling back the layers of her aura. Lies smelled like sulfur and rot. Truth smelled like ozone and rain. He inhaled. Pain. Blinding agony exploded in his skull. Gabriel winced, hand flying to his temple. It wasn't sulfur. It wasn't ozone. It was static, a wall of noise. Her fear was there, sour and acrid. But underneath, overpowering everything, was the scent of the air. Power. Ancient. Blood. Iron. The pup was shielding her. His own blood was blinding him. Are you okay? Chloe asked. Fine, he snapped. He wasn't fine. He was blind. For the first time since his first shift, he couldn't smell a lie. The wolf paced in his mind, snarling at the blockage. Protect the pup, it growled. Do not hurt the vessel. Who approached you? Gabriel pressed, voice tight. Did anyone offer a bonus? Did they ask about the thorns? No. Chloe slammed the mug down. Tea sloshed over the rim. I don't know who you people are. I'm not a secret agent, okay? I'm just broke. She held his gaze. Her eyes were defiant, brown and fierce. Gabriel focused on her pulse. Thump, 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 steady, fast but rhythmic. No skips, no flutter of deception. She was either a sociopath or she was telling the gods' honest truth. The headache receded to a dull throb. You really don't know me, he said. It wasn't a question. Chloe gestured around the library. Floor-to-ceiling books, weapons mounted on the walls. I know you're loaded, she said. I know you turn into a dog, and your butler is terrifying. Wolf. Semantics. She crossed her arms, defensive. What happens now? Do I get a paycheck? Do I leave? You stay. Gabriel stood. He walked to the window. The grounds were dark, but his night vision picked out the perimeter guards. You stay where I can see you, where I can guard you. Guard me from what? Gabriel thought of Marcus. The hunger in the elder's eyes. The council. The northern pack. Everything. He couldn't let her go. Not just because of the child, but because she was a riddle. A puzzle piece that didn't fit. And Gabriel Thorne never walked away from a challenge.
The house breathed. Chloe lay in the massive bed, staring at the ceiling. The silence was heavy. The sheets were too silky, sliding against her skin like cool water. She felt like an intruder. Sleep was impossible. She threw off the duvet. The floorboards were cool under her bare feet. She wandered the hall. Shadows stretched long and distorted. A strip of golden light spilled from beneath a door. The study. Go back, her brain warned. Go in, her curiosity whispered. She knocked, softly. Enter. Chloe pushed the heavy wood. Gabriel sat behind a desk the size of a small car. Sleeves rolled up, tie undone, forearms thick with muscle and covered in dark hair. He looked exhausted. I couldn't sleep, she said. Gabriel looked up. The blue ice in his eyes melted, just a fraction. Come in since you're awake. Paperwork. Chloe stepped inside. The room smelled of old paper, leather, and him. That addictive winter pine scent. It made her legs feel unsteady. What is it? Protection. Agreement, Gabriel said. He tapped a stack of documents. I provide housing, medical, security, forever. Forever. The word hung in the air, heavy, final. Chloe looked away. She scanned the room. Awards, antique swords, diplomas. Then she froze. Behind the desk, centered on the wall, a thick black frame. Inside, resting on black velvet, was a crumpled piece of green paper. Chloe blinked. She took a step closer. Is that... A $20 bill, wrinkled, sad. Wait. A nervous laugh bubbled up. Is that my money? Gabriel didn't laugh. He set his pen down. He swiveled the chair. Yes. Why? Chloe stared at him. You're a billionaire. Why frame a 20? It's absurd. Gabriel stood. He moved with that fluid, predatory grace. He stood next to the frame, looking at it like it was a holy relic. Because, he said softly, everyone in this world wants something from me. My influence, my money, my protection, my blood. He turned to her. The intensity in his gaze scorched her. Skin. You are the only person, the absolute only one. Who ever tried to give me something? Chloe's heart skipped. Thump. It was an insult, she argued, voice breathless. I thought you were, I was paying for the sex. I know. He stepped closer. The space between them crackled, static electricity. You didn't see a king, he murmured. You saw a man, and you treated him like one. He reached out. His knuckles grazed her cheek. Rough skin, gentle touch. Heat radiated from him. Don't lose that, Chloe. What? The audacity, he whispered, to treat a monster like a human. The contract on the desk ceased to exist. The money ceased to exist. Chloe looked up into his eyes and realized something terrifying. She wasn't just an incubator anymore, and he wasn't just a client. He had kept the money, which meant he intended to keep her too.
The council chamber smelled like death wrapped in silk. Gabriel stood at the head of the obsidian table. 12 pairs of eyes, cold, milky, ancient, tracked him. Vultures circling a carcass. At the opposite end sat Marcus, his stillness louder than a scream. She cannot remain in the guest wing. Marcus's voice was oil sliding over water. It is unsafe. She is human. Fragile. Gabriel gripped the table edge. Crack. Black stone powdered under his fingers, drifting to the floor like ash. She is the mother of the heir. The words rumbled deep in his chest, a warning tremor before an earthquake. Exactly, Marcus countered, unfazed. Which is why she must be moved. To the breeding wing. Silence fell over the room. The breeding wing. The name was clinical. The reality was a tomb. Reinforced concrete bunkers beneath the bedrock. No natural light. No air circulation. Just safety and isolation. A cage for broodmares. You want to put her in a hole? Gabriel's voice dropped an octave. The wolf snarled in his mind, clawing at the back of his eyes. Mine. Protect. We want to ensure the asset survives. Marcus slid a manila folder across the polished stone. Standard protocol for non-wolf carriers. Gabriel didn't look at the folder. He looked at Marcus's throat. He imagined the satisfying snap of vertebrae. If I put her in the dark, Gabriel said, the stress will kill the pup. Marcus shrugged. A risk we must manage. Gabriel stood. His chair screeched, metal on stone, a violent sound that made the elders flinch. No. Marcus narrowed his eyes. It is not a request, Alpha. It is council law. Unless she is matriarch status, she is a vessel. Gabriel bared his teeth. She isn't going to the breeding wing. Where then? Marcus demanded. To the royal suite. Gasps ripple through the chamber. The royal suite. His sanctuary. His bed. The one place in the fortress forbidden to all but the king. That is heresy. Marcus shot to his feet. She is human. She carries my legacy. Gabriel roared. The sound shattered the stained glass window high above. Shards rained down like colored snow. From this moment, she sleeps where I sleep. She eats where I eat. And if anyone... Gabriel leaned forward, gold fire flooding his irises. Anyone looks at her with anything other than reverence, I will mount their head on the gate. He turned. He walked out. The silence behind him hung heavy. He had just declared war on his own government. He didn't care. He wasn't just protecting a fetus. He was guarding the only thing in this castle that felt real.
The dress was red, not crimson, arterial. Chloe stared at the mirror. The silk poured over her curves, clinging like a second skin. The slit rode high, exposing thigh. It wasn't a dress. It was a weapon. You look adequate. The stylist sniffed, twitching a strap into place with cold fingers. Chloe didn't feel adequate. She felt like bait. Knock. The door opened. Gabriel. He wore a tuxedo, black on black. The cut emphasized the terrifying width of his shoulders. He looked devastating. He stopped. His gaze swept her from heels to hair. The air in the room thickened. You look... His voice was rough. He cleared his throat. Ready. Ready for what? Chloe's heart raced. The Moonlight Gala? It sounds like a prom for werewolves. To survive. He offered his arm. They descended the grand staircase. Below, the ballroom was a sea of bodies. Hundreds of them. Diamonds glittered. Champagne flowed. But beneath the luxury, the air buzzed with predatory static. Stay close, Gabriel whispered. His breath tickled her ear. They entered the crush. Heads turned. Whispers hissed like snakes. That's the human? She smells weak. Breeder. Chloe squeezed Gabriel's bicep. It was hard as steel. She wanted to bolt. Instead, she lifted her chin. She remembered the $20. She wasn't a victim. A mountain of a man blocked their path. A scar bisected his face. Jax, Alpha of the Borderlands. So this is the pet, Jax sneered. He didn't look at her eyes. He stared openly at her chest. Nice wrapping paper for a royal package. Gabriel stiffened. The muscle under her hand turned rigid. Watch your tongue, Jax. Jax laughed. He reached out, a finger extended to poke her bare arm. Testing, disrespecting. Come on, Thorne, does she do tricks? Blur. One heartbeat, Jax was standing. The next, he was airborne. Gabriel didn't just push him, he launched him. Jax slammed into a table of crystal flutes. Crash! Glass exploded. Screams cut the music. Jax groaned on the marble, slick with wine and blood. Gabriel stood over him, eyes blazing molten gold. A growl ripped from his throat. Primal, terrifying. She is not a pet. The voice wasn't human. It was the wolf. Touch her again and you won't have hands. Chloe stared. He was violent, unhinged. Then he turned. The gold faded to ice blue. The rage vanished, replaced by concern. He reached out, not to strike, to hold. Are you hurt? Soft, gentle. Chloe shook her head. Her pulse raced, adrenaline flooding her veins. For the first time in her life, someone hadn't just used her. Someone had bled for her. And God help her. She liked it.
Morning light assaulted the room. Gabriel sat in his office. Chloe was safe upstairs, wrapped in his duvet, smelling of him. But the peace was a lie. The door burst open. Marcus marched in, flanked by 3 guards. He held a plastic evidence bag like a trophy. Inside, the crumpled $20 bill. Gabriel went still. He hadn't framed it yet. He'd left it on the desk. They had looted his office during the gala. We know. Marcus's voice dripped triumph. Know what? Gabriel asked. Quiet. We pulled the hotel records. Marcus slammed the bag on the mahogany. We know she left money. We know what this implies. Solicitation. Marcus spat the word. She paid you, or you paid her. It was a transaction. Under Section 4, a child born of a transaction of flesh has no mother. Her rights are void. Gabriel stared at the bill. His keepsake. Now a blade at her throat. If we prove she treated conception as a job, as prostitution, she is exiled. Tonight, we keep the child. Marcus smiled. Thin, cruel. You have no choice, Alpha. Let her go. Gabriel looked at the green paper. He saw Chloe fighting for her dignity. He saw her in the red dress. He smelled the vanilla and rain that quieted his demons. He stood. You are right. Marcus blinked. I am. There was a transaction. Gabriel rounded the desk. He snatched the bag from Marcus's grip. But you have the context wrong. Context? Marcus scoffed. It's $20. It wasn't payment. Gabriel lied. The words tasted like ash, but his voice was steady. It was a dowry. The room went still. A dowry. Ancient law. Irrevocable. It signaled a marriage contract. Dowry? Marcus sputtered. $20? She is poor. Gabriel's eyes flashed dangerous gold. She gave everything she possessed. It is a symbol of intent. He stepped into Marcus's space, looming. She isn't a prostitute, Marcus. She is my fiancée. The realization dawned on the elder's face. Horror. If they were betrothed, she was untouchable. Future royalty. You lie, Marcus hissed. Prove it. Gabriel turned to the guards. Announce it to the pack. The Alpha is taking a mate. The guards scrambled to obey. Gabriel looked down at the crumpled bill. He had saved her, but he had also caged her. Now the lie had to become truth. He had to convince a woman who feared him to marry him, and he had to do it before the council found the cracks in his armor.
Engaged? The word sucked the air from the room. Chloe stared at him. The floor felt insubstantial. We are not engaged, she hissed. Her voice was quiet and sharp. Gabriel stood by the mahogany dresser. The bedroom, his bedroom, was a cavern of shadows and the scent of cedar. It smelled expensive. It smelled like a trap. We are whatever I say we are. He removed his cufflinks. Clink, clink. Gold hit glass. He didn't turn around. Rage, hot and sudden, flared in Chloe's chest. She marched across the plush carpet. She grabbed his forearm. You don't own me, Gabriel. You can't just script a marriage. I'm here for a transaction, a check, remember? Gabriel froze. He looked down at her hand gripping his sleeve. His bicep was stone under the fabric. There is no job anymore. His voice was void of emotion. What? The council found the money. He turned. The mask of the king slipped, revealing a man exhausted by the weight of the crown. They were going to frame you, void your contract, throw you into the street. Chloe's hand dropped. Throw me out? The whisper scraped her throat. And keep the baby? Yes. So, Gabriel continued, stepping closer. I lied. I told them the money was a dowry. I told them we are in love. Chloe stumbled back. Her calves hit the edge of the mattress. She sank onto the duvet. So, we're trapped? We're safe. He sat beside her. He didn't touch her, but his body heat radiated across the inch of space between them. A furnace. Why? She asked. Why save me? You wanted the heir, the royal batch. You could have let them take me. Gabriel stared at his hands. Large, scarred. I didn't want a wife, he admitted. I wanted an heir to silence the council. I wanted freedom. He turned. His eyes were storm clouds, turbulent and dark. But then you left me $20. Chloe managed a weak, fractured smile. It was all I had. I know. The air shifted. It grew heavy, pressurized. Gabriel reached out. He placed his palm over hers on the bedspread. Skin met skin. Zap. Blue static snapped between them. Loud. Sharp. Chloe gasped, jerking her hand back. Her fingers tingled, a phantom burn lingering. Static? She breathed. Gabriel looked at his palm, brow furrowed. It should be more, he murmured. It should be a bond, but something is blocking the connection. He looked at her. Your human DNA. Chloe rubbed her hand. She felt the pull in her chest. A hook, dragging her toward him. She didn't know what terrified her more, the lie of the engagement, or the fact that she desperately wanted it to be the truth.
The woods were a tomb. Gabriel navigated the armored SUV down the dirt track. The headlights cut through the gloom, illuminating ancient pines. He was moving her to the safe house. The estate was compromised. Too many eyes. Too many snakes. He glanced at the passenger seat. Chloe slept, head tipped back, throat exposed. Mine. The wolf clawed at his ribs. It wanted to lick the pulse fluttering under her skin. She trusts me. The thought was a sharp pain in his gut. He didn't deserve it. Crack. A massive pine crashed onto the road. Gabriel slammed the brakes. Tires screamed. The SUV skidded, fishtailing in the gravel before shuddering to a halt. Dust billowed like smoke. Stay in the car, Gabriel roared. He didn't wait. He kicked the door open. Shadows detached themselves from the tree line, not shadows. Wolves. Massive. Rogues? Gabriel inhaled. Mint. Sulfur. Poison. No, not rogues. Council assassins. They were here to erase the mistake. Gabriel didn't shift. The change took precious seconds he didn't have. He lunged. He caught the first attacker in midair. Snap. He broke the beast's foreleg like a dry twig. He hurled the whimpering animal into a tree. But there were too many. 6. Circling. They growled, a chorus of wet, guttural hate. Gabriel fought. He punched with hydraulic force. He kicked. He used his fingernails like claws, tearing at fur and flesh. Blood sprayed, hot and coppery. A set of jaws clamped onto his shoulder. Arr! Pain flared blindingly. Teeth ground against his collarbone. Gabriel dropped to one knee. Another wolf launched itself at his throat. This is it. He had failed her. The car door opened. No! Gabriel screamed, blood bubbling in his mouth. "Run, Chloe!" She didn't run. She sprinted toward the chaos. In her hand, the silver letter opener from the console gleamed in the moonlight. The wolf on Gabriel's throat tightened its grip. The world grayed at the edges. Thwack. Chloe drove the silver blade into the wolf's eye. The beast shrieked. It released Gabriel, scrambling back, pawing at its face. Gabriel gasped, sucking in air. He looked up. Chloe stood over him, shaking, covered in splatter, holding the bloody silver like a vengeance angel. "Get away from him!" she screamed. The pack froze. They looked at the silver. They looked at the human female. Fear. They smelled the madness on her. They turned and ran. Gabriel stared up at her, his vision blurred, swimming in and out. But he saw one thing with absolute clarity. She wasn't just a vessel. She was a queen.
There was too much blood. Chloe dragged Gabriel into the cabin. It smelled of mildew and abandonment. She didn't care. It had a lock. She shoved him onto the bearskin rug. "You're bleeding out," she choked. Her hands were slick with crimson. It was terrifyingly hot. "I'm fine," Gabriel groaned. He tried to rise. He failed, collapsing back with a wet thud. "Lie still!" Chloe scrambled to the kitchenette. Towels, water, a bottle of cheap vodka. She sprinted back. She ripped his ruined shirt open. Buttons pinged across the floor. The bite on his shoulder was a jagged crater. Muscle wept. "This is going to hurt." She uncapped the bottle. "Do it." She poured the alcohol. Gabriel didn't scream. He hissed, a sound of pure animal agony. His back arched off the floor. Every muscle in his torso corded like steel cables. I'm sorry," Chloe whispered, pressing the towel into the meat of his shoulder. The silence stretched. Only the crackle of the hearth and their ragged breathing filled the room. "Why didn't you run?" Gabriel's voice was a wreck, raspy, weak. Chloe looked at his face. He was gray. Sweat beaded on his forehead, mixing with the dirt. "You told me to run," she said. "Yes, so why are you here?" "Because." Chloe's voice broke. She lifted the bloody towel. The bleeding had slowed. Wolf healing. She looked at her hands, stained red. "Because I'm tired of running," she whispered, "and I couldn't leave you." Gabriel reached up. His hand was heavy, trembling. He cupped her cheek, leaving a smear of iron on her skin. "You saved me. You saved me first." She looked into his eyes. The glacial blue was melting. The gold was rising, warm, possessive. "The money," she said softly. "The contract, the baby. None of it matters right now." "No," Gabriel agreed. He pulled her down, not to kiss her, to anchor her. He buried his face in the crook of her neck. He inhaled, a deep, desperate drag of air. "I don't want the air," he rumbled against her pulse point. Chloe froze. "What?" "I don't want the air," Gabriel repeated. The words vibrated through her bones. "Not if the price is you." Her heart skipped a beat, then another. The room felt suddenly small, intimate. In that dim, dusty cabin, Chloe knew. The game was over. The transaction was void. She wasn't fighting for a paycheck anymore. She was fighting for him.
The drive back to the estate was a descent into hell. Gabriel gripped Chloe's hand. Her skin was a furnace, dry, scorching heat. A heartbeat later, ice. She convulsed, teeth chattering against the silence of the armored cab. "What is happening?" Gabriel snarled. The driver slammed the accelerator. Pines blurred into a dark green smear. They crossed the property line, the invisible barrier of the obsidian estate. Chloe screamed. Not fear, pain. Her back arched off the leather, spine bowing like a drawn bowstring. "Stop!" Gabriel roared. He dragged her into his lap. She gasped, drowning in dry air. Her veins, usually hidden, darkened under translucent skin, ink bleeding into parchment, poison spreading. "We're home," Gabriel whispered into her hair. "You're safe." Lies. The realization struck him. The estate wasn't just stone and mortar. It was a sovereign magical territory, and it was rejecting her. The rite of separation, the council, those ancient, withered ghouls. They had invoked the wards. The land itself was purging the foreign biological matter, draining the mother to feed the heir. Gabriel carried her inside. The hallways were sub-zero. Shadows lengthened, reaching for her with grasping fingers. "Doctor, now!" He laid her on the silk sheets of the royal suite. She looked diminished, a porcelain doll left in the rain. The pack doctor burst in. He smelled of antiseptic and terror. He checked her pulse. He peered into her eyes. He paled. "Alpha." The man's voice trembled. "The heir, it's a parasite." "Explain." "The mother is human. She lacks the metaphysical framework to sustain alpha energy. The fetus is feeding on her life force. It's eating her alive." Gabriel's heart stalled in his chest. "Fix it." "I can't," the doctor whispered. "If she stays, the land kills her. If she leaves, the council claims the child." Gabriel looked at Chloe, unconscious. Gray, fading. He had promised protection. Now the assassin was his own son. "Get out." The doctor fled. Gabriel sat on the edge of the mattress. He took her limp hand. It felt like holding smoke. "I won't let you go," he vowed. But the wolf whined low in his throat. It knew. Nature was a butcher, and kings didn't always get to keep their queens.
Waking up was a struggle against gravity. Chloe blinked. The room swam in shadows. Her limbs were lead. She tried to rise. Muscles refused to fire. "Hello, my dear." The voice rasped from the corner. Dry, papery. Chloe turned her head. Neck vertebrae cracked. Marcus stood there. He clutched a leather briefcase. "Where is Gabriel?" Her voice was ruined gravel. "Occupied." Marcus stepped into the dim light. He ignored her face, his gaze fixed on the cardiac monitor, counting the beats of her dying heart. "You are expiring, Ms. Vane." "I know." She could feel it. The fire in her womb wasn't creating, it was consuming. A star going supernova. A tragedy, Marcus sighed. But avoidable. Chloe focused on him. "Avoidable?" Marcus snapped the latches. Click, click. He produced a document and a check. "We can perform an extraction," he said. "Clinical, cold. Tonight, the heir is viable. An incubator will suffice. And me? You will leave." Marcus placed the check on the nightstand. Chloe looked. Zeros. An army of them. $10 million. "Take the money," Marcus urged. "Sign the renunciation. Disappear. Survive. Or you stay. You attempt to carry to term, and you die in this bed before sunrise." He leaned in, eyes flat and lifeless. "A simple transaction. Your life for the baby." Chloe stared at the check. 10 million. It was freedom. It was safety. It was everything she had ever scraped for. She could run. She was good at running. She reached for the pen. Her hand trembled, palsied and weak. Marcus smiled. Predatory. "Sign. Be smart. Be the practical girl who took the $20. Chloe's fingers brushed the cool plastic. She looked at the door. No Gabriel. She looked at her stomach, the fire burning there. She thought of the wolf, the way he looked at her. Not like a vessel, but like a revelation. Suddenly, the check was just paper. She picked up the pen.
Gabriel ran. He had bypassed the staff. He made the broth himself. He needed her to eat, to fight. "Chloe, I have..." He kicked the door open. The bowl slipped. Crash. Ceramic shards exploded. Broth soaked the Persian rug. The bed was empty. "Chloe?" Panic seized his throat. He spun. Bathroom? Empty. Closet? Empty. The balcony doors stood open. Curtains whipped in the gale. Cold wind bit his skin, carrying the scent of snow. And something else. Old blood. Determination. Gabriel strode to the nightstand. The check, ripped, shredded into confetti. $1 million snowstorm. On top of the debris, the pen, snapped in half. She didn't take the money. Then where? He rushed to the balcony. He scanned the tree line. The blizzard was blinding now, a whiteout. He inhaled. Deep. Scent. Faint. Vanishing under the ice. She was moving away from the manor, toward the ruins, the moonstone circle. No, Gabriel breathed. The word frosted in the air. The circle was ancient, primal, a conduit for the goddess. For wolves, it was prayer. For humans, it was a radiation zone. The raw magic would crush her fragile system in minutes. She went to beg. She went to trade her life for the air. Ah! A scream tore through the night. Human, agonized. It came from the woods. Gabriel didn't think. He didn't use the stairs. He vaulted the railing. He fell 3 stories. He landed in a crouch, impact shuddering through his skeleton. Snow exploded around his boots. He didn't feel the cold. He didn't feel the shock. He felt terror. He ran. Faster than logic allowed. Shift. Clothes shredded, bones rearranged. The wolf burst forth, massive and black as the void. He tore through the drifts, paws churning the earth. Hold on, his mind screamed. Hold on, little mouse. The scream didn't come again. The silence that followed was heavy. Silence meant she was gone.
The snow attacked. Ice shards bit into Chloe's exposed skin. She lay sprawled on the permafrost, the center of the moonstone circle. Above her, the monoliths loomed like judging gods. They hummed, a low bass vibration that rattled her teeth. Thrum, 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 pain. It wasn't a contraction. It was an earthquake in her pelvis. Her hips felt like they were being pried apart. It wasn't just the baby. The pressure was structural. Her femur, her spine, every inch of her skeleton was grinding. She screamed. The wind snatched the sound and swallowed it. Shadows lined the perimeter. Chloe wiped a frozen tear from her lash. Guards, 6 of them. Statues in gray cloaks. They didn't move. They watched her writhe. "Help me," she gasped. The air turned to mist in front of her lips. A guard stepped forward, female, eyes like slate. "Interference is forbidden." The voice was flat. "If the human vessel cannot sustain the air, nature corrects the error." Chloe's fingers clawed into the frozen soil. Nature? This was an execution. A new wave hit. Ah! She curled inward. The baby was crowning, tearing her apart from the inside out. She was dying. Here, in the dark, just a disposable wrapper for a king's legacy. No, something snapped deep in her chest. Not a bone. A seal. A door she didn't know existed kicked open. Heat flooded her veins. Not fever, not the baby's parasitic drain. Power. Ancient, dormant, and furious. Grandmother's stories. The blood that skipped a generation. The recessive gene waiting for a trigger. Stress, trauma, magic. Chloe looked up. The blizzard parted. The moon, full and blinding, struck the stones. The light hit her skin. It didn't burn. It fed her. She pushed herself up on one trembling elbow. The world sharpened into hyper-focus. The guards took a step back. The slate eyes widened. Why? Because her eyes weren't brown. They were liquid silver. "I am not dying." The voice wasn't hers. It was deeper. A growl wrapped in velvet. The hum of the stones escalated to a roar. The ground shuddered. She wasn't just a vessel. She wasn't human. She was something else. Something that had been sleeping for 20 years. And it just woke up.
Move. Gabriel stood at the clearing's edge. Steam rose from his shoulders, mixing with the falling snow. He was painted in gore, his own, and the blood of the wolves he'd broken in the woods. 6 council enforcers blocked the path. A wall of gray wool and arrogance. Alpha. The lead guard raised a gloved hand. Halt. The rite has commenced. The energy within is volatile. It will incinerate you. Gabriel looked past them, a dark shape on the white snow. Chloe. Stillness. The law forbids entry. The guard droned. The law? Gabriel laughed. The sound was a jagged shard of glass. He cracked his neck. Pop. I am the law. He didn't shift. The wolf snarled in his brain, demanding release, demanding slaughter. But Gabriel needed his hands. He needed precision. He moved. He didn't fight like a beast. He fought like a king with nothing left to lose. He ducked a silver baton. He punched the guard in the throat. Crack. Trachea crushed. The man dropped without a sound. The others swarmed. A baton struck his ribs. Pain exploded. Gabriel didn't slow. He used the momentum. He grabbed a wrist. Snap. The bone gave way like dry kindling. Get down, he roared. He was a whirlwind of violence, efficient, brutal. He wasn't fighting for territory. He was fighting for his soul. He kicked the last guard into a snowdrift. The path lay open. He sprinted into the circle. The magic hit him like a physical wall. Static electricity flayed his skin. The air tasted of ozone and ancient malice. It tried to repel him. He pushed harder. Chloe! He fell to his knees. She was soaked in sweat and fluids. Her skin was the color of ash. No, no, no. Gabriel gathered her into his arms. She was limp. Don't you dare. He pressed his forehead to hers. Blood smeared between them. Stay with me, he sobbed. The wolf howled a eulogy in his mind. I don't care about the crown. I don't care about the pact. Just stay. Then, a vibration. It rippled through her chest, against his own. Not a heartbeat, a purr.
The pain vanished. Only fire remained, a beautiful, consuming inferno. Chloe felt Gabriel's arms, solid, real. She smelled him, pine, copper, terror. The scent anchored her drifting soul. Gabriel, she gasped. It's time. His voice cracked. She nodded. Her body wasn't hers anymore. It belonged to the instinct. Push. The world narrowed to a single point of pressure. The wind howled. The stones sang a chorus of welcome. One final, earth-shattering contraction. A cry, thin, high, furious. It sliced through the storm. He's here, Gabriel whispered, awe choking him. He lifted the bundle, a boy, small, bloody, perfect. But the fire didn't stop. The birth was the key. The baby leaving her body broke the dam. The latent gene, ignited by the stress of birthing a royal alpha, detonated. Chloe arched her back. Her skin felt too tight, seams popping. Chloe? Gabriel shouted, run! She tried to speak, but it came out as a snarl. Crack. Her femur snapped, reshaping, lengthening, snap. Her spine elongated. Fur burst through her pores. Not brown, not black, silver, shimmering, impossible moonlight made physical. It hurt, but it was also liberation. In the span of a breath, the woman vanished. In her place stood the wolf. She was sleek, aerodynamic, muscle coiled under a coat of spun metal. Her eyes were twin mirrors reflecting the moon. She shook her head, scattering snowflakes. She sneezed. She looked at Gabriel. He stared up at her, paralyzed. He looked like he was seeing a ghost, a deity. A silver wolf, he breathed. The legends, extinct for centuries, the queens of the old world, the only creature biologically engineered to balance the madness of an alpha king. Chloe looked at the perimeter. The guards were scrambling to their feet, batons raised, fear rolling off them. She stepped between Gabriel and the threat. She bared teeth that gleamed like daggers. A growl rumbled in her chest, tectonic, fatal. It wasn't a request for mercy. Come and get him, the silver wolf thought. I dare you.
The blizzard died. Gabriel knelt in the powder. He pressed the bundle to his chest. The boy was hot, alive, a squirming miracle wrapped in a shredded tuxedo jacket. But Gabriel couldn't look at the child. His gaze was magnetized to her. The silver wolf stood between him and the council guards. She was sleek, smaller than an alpha, but the air around her warped with power. Her coat shimmered, moonlight trapped in living glass. Marcus stumbled into the clearing, breathless. Late, he scanned the scene, the blood, the baby. "Hand him over." Marcus's voice was thin, reedy. "The mother is expired. The rite is concluded. The council claims the asset." Gabriel's muscles coiled. Rage flooded his veins. He prepared to rise, to tear the elder's throat out with his teeth. Grr, rumble. The sound vibrated through the clearing. It didn't come from Gabriel. Marcus froze. He squinted at the silver beast. He laughed, nervous, high-pitched. "A stray?" he sneered. "Dispatch that mongrel." He took a step toward the air. Snap. The silver wolf didn't maul him. She simply clamped her jaws inches from his nose. The sound was a gunshot. The air displacement slapped Marcus in the face. He fell back, landing hard in the drift. "You dare!" he shrieked. "Guards, kill it!" Gabriel tensed. The guards didn't move. They stared at the wolf. Pupils dilated. Batons hung loosely in slack fingers. They knew. Every cub heard the bedtime stories. The silver wolf wasn't biology. It was theology. It meant the moon goddess had descended. It meant queen. Clatter. A silver baton hit the ice. Then another. One by one, the elite soldiers dropped to their knees. They bowed their heads, exposing their necks in absolute submission. Not to the king. To her. "Impossible," Marcus whispered. The silver wolf huffed. A sound dangerously close to amusement. Shift, fluid, fur retracted, snout shortened, claws receded. Chloe stood there, naked, painted in blood, hair a wild halo of tangles. She didn't shrink. She didn't cover herself. She radiated an authority that made Gabriel's wolf want to roll over and bare its belly. She stalked toward Marcus. She looked down at him. "Get off my property." Her voice was ruined velvet, rasping, lethal. Marcus scrambled backward, crab-walking through the slush. He looked at the guards. Statues. He looked at Gabriel. Gabriel smiled. It was all teeth. The truth landed. Marcus wasn't fighting a girl. He was fighting a deity. He scrambled to his feet. He ran, disappearing into the black timber without looking back. Chloe turned. Her knees buckled. Gabriel moved. He caught her inches from the snow. He pulled her into his heat, wrapping her and their son in a single embrace. "I got you," he whispered into the damp tangle of her hair. Chloe looked at the baby. Her lips curved, a tired, radiant expression. "He has your nose," she murmured. Her eyes rolled back. She went limp. But Gabriel's heart didn't stutter. He could hear hers. Strong, steady, rhythmic. She wasn't dying. She was just resting.
The world had changed textures. Chloe stood on the balcony of the royal suite. The sun was bright, warm, golden, insistent. The snow had retreated to the peaks. The obsidian estate didn't look like a vampire's fortress anymore. It looked like a home. She inhaled. Lilac, wet earth, fresh lumber. She peered over the stone railing. Workmen hauled crates from the sub-basement. Metal glinted in the light. The royal batch equipment. Centrifuges, incubators. Gabriel had ordered it all incinerated. No more science. No more desperation. "Hey," she turned. Gabriel framed the doorway. He held Leo, their son, in the crook of one arm. The king looked different. No tuxedo, no armor, jeans, a white t-shirt that strained against his chest. He looked younger, unburdened. "How is he?" Chloe asked. "Voracious." Gabriel walked to her. "Like his mother?" Chloe laughed. She took the baby. Leo made a gurgling noise, tiny fingers clamping onto her thumb with surprising strength. Her heart softened. Again, she looked at Gabriel. He watched her with a softness that made her stand taller. "The council is dissolving," he said. "The remaining elders voted at dawn. They want a new system, a representative one." "And Marcus?" "Vanished," Gabriel said. "If he surfaces, the pack knows the standing order." Hunt. Chloe looked out at the forest. She remembered the biting cold, the fear, the $20 bill in her pocket that felt like her only armor against the monsters. It felt like a different lifetime. "You know," she said softly, "I never signed that contract, the new one." Gabriel stepped into her space. He wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her flesh against him. He rested his chin on her shoulder, inhaling her scent. "You don't need a contract." "Why?" she teased. "Because you're the queen," he whispered against her neck. "You own the deed." Chloe leaned back. The static, that zap of blue electricity, hummed between them. It wasn't blocked anymore. It was a constant, low-voltage song. "I don't want the deed." "What do you want?" Chloe looked at Leo, sleeping soundly. Then she looked at the man who had fought the world to keep her breathing. Just this. For the first time in the bloody history of the Thorne Pack, the king didn't issue a command. He simply allowed himself to be loved. The office smelled of leather and sunlight. The heavy velvet curtains were thrown wide. Chloe entered. She carried a glass jar, a generic vacation fund container she'd ordered online. Gabriel was on the phone. He saw her. He hung up mid-sentence. "Everything okay?" He stood. He always stood when she entered now. Instinct. "Fine." Chloe rounded the desk. I have a debt to settle." Gabriel frowned. "A debt?" She stopped in front of the black frame on the wall. The museum light still cast a spotlight on the contents. The $20 bill. It looked absurd. A wrinkled, tragic piece of green paper enshrined in gallery glass. Chloe reached up. She unhooked the frame. Gabriel watched, arms crossed, leaning a hip against the desk. He didn't intervene. "You know that's a collector's item," he drawled. Chloe popped the backing clips. Snap, snap. She slid the bill out. The paper felt soft, worn by time and desperation. She remembered the night she left it. The anger. The feeling of being small in a world of giants. She dropped the bill into the glass jar. Clink. There. Gabriel looked at the jar, then at her. His eyes burned blue fire. "You sure? That was my most prized possession." Chloe stepped into him. She placed her palms on his chest. Through the cotton, his heart beat a steady rhythm. Thump, thump. "It's just paper, Gabriel." She stood on tiptoes. She pressed her lips to his. Slow. Sweet. A seal on a promise. "Besides," she whispered against his mouth, "you still owe me change." Gabriel laughed, a deep rumble that vibrated through her ribs. He wrapped his arms around her, lifting her feet off the floor. "I don't carry cash," he murmured. "That's okay." Chloe smiled. "I'll take it in kisses." Gabriel smirked, that dangerous wolfish grin. Accepted. He kissed her, deeply, possessively. As the sun dipped below the tree line of the obsidian estate, the $20 bill sat in the jar, forgotten, because they had found the only thing in the world that was truly priceless, each other.